Welcome to episode 309 of In Touch with iOS, this show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and Kelly Guimont is back on the show. How you doing, Kelly?
I'm doing well, David. How are you?
Doing great. So glad you're back to join us. Also back is Ben Roethig. How you doing, Ben?
I'm doing fantastic. Loving the, shall we call it, pre-summer.
Pre-summer. Well, we got a couple weeks yet, but... And also here, as always, we appreciate it, Jeff Gamet. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing great, coming to you from the Mile High Tatooine. Man.
Oh, boy. So, we are 3 days away from the WWDC 2024, the Worldwide Developers Conference. We're going to throw in a bit of our predictions, see what we think. And, there's always fun things at this time of year when Apple is having that event, and we'll have some fun talking about that. We got a number of stories, including AirTags and Netflix and iPhones and all kinds of other stuff. So why not just jump right into the topics and let's go this week. Beta this week, there's still no beta. Are you surprised, Ben? No beta? It's been like 5 weeks now, 4 weeks. It's the last beta.
At this point, I wonder if there's even going to be like a 17.6.
You got to wonder, because we know probably more than likely, I think iOS 18 might be the next beta. But last year they had simultaneous betas. They had 18 going, or 17 going last year, and then they had still were updating 16 with betas too. So
that's more common now, I think, just in general, that sort of the shipping OS has a beta track, and then separately from that, the beta OS has a beta track. So
yeah, absolutely. So we still should talk a little bit about 17.5.1. They did one little interesting update. There was a revised version of iPadOS 17.5.1, and only for the iPad 10th generation. This was released this week. It was specifically for that model. The update is a second version of iPadOS, with the version number of 21F91, up from F90. There really wasn't any word why they released it, but there must have been some sort of bug that was on the 10th gen iPad only. So you will only see that. It did come out with a fix that could cause images to reappear. And remember that fun story of Photos app from 10 years ago. But beyond that, there is really no other reasoning why Apple did this. So that is definitely interesting. Another topic I thought interesting was this was a story. Apple has committed to at least 5 years of iPhone security updates, which we didn't know this, but Apple revealed its commitment to a minimum 5 years of iPhone security software updates that from the date a device is launched, thanks to a new legal requirement in the UK. And they found this. It was earlier this year. The UK did establish a product security and telecommunications infrastructure regulation, which forces companies to sell internet-capable products in the country to comply with certain security requirements. One of those requirements is companies define a support period or a minimum length of time from which security updates will be provided after sale. A security update, of course, is defined by the regulation as a software update that protects or enhances security of the product. So interesting to see that the UK actually enforced this and Apple had to comply to it. But I think, haven't we really been at 5 and 6 and possibly 7 years on iPhones updates?
Or more.
Or even more?
I think it depends on the magnitude of the patch, like the magnitude of the hole that's being patched, how far back Apple will distribute a fix, but it's never... it's not like this is a thing Apple was never doing and now they're being forced. I think they're just being forced to sort of quantify it. Like, yes, this is, checking a box. This is the thing that we do. So,
yeah. And your thoughts, Jeff?
I was trying to figure out where the news was in this. Other than Apple is just saying again what they've been doing.
Yeah.
I thought they had said previously that they were already committed to like 5 or 7 years of updates, like security updates for devices. So it's not like Apple's doing anything new. So I guess the news here is that Apple is confirming that they are in compliance with EU regulations.
That's pretty much what it seemed like to me. Was just we signed a document that said so. We've been telling you this all this time, but now like there's some sort of official documentation of this being the stance that they've had all along. So
yeah, that's what I was it was surprising to see that was the case, that you actually had official documentation here for it. So
yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
Honestly, I think this is aimed more at the Android makers than it is Apple. This is Apple offering a minimum guarantee. They're not going to shut off your iPhone, blah, 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 once it reaches 5 years, once it's after 5 years. They will still keep giving devices upgrades until they are no longer viable. This is the way Apple does things. This is the way Apple will continue to do things. So basically, if you're an Apple user, what has changed since this? Absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Honestly, all this changes is at least, I mean, if we were in another country, my stance on Android, because the problem we used to always have was that it was sort of a standoff or a slap fight, depending who you ask, between the carrier and the maker of the device. So if Samsung and Verizon are mad at each other, then if you bought a phone a month ago, maybe it doesn't get a new version of Android because Verizon says no. And Ben is nodding, so I'm taking that as a sign that I am remembering this correctly. It was, and so if Verizon didn't feel like giving you that update, but maybe you have a friend with an AT&T account who has the exact same phone, they may get the new version of Android. And there was no way to tell, this is what you're getting, this is how long it's supported, this is, kind of what you're in for, as a life cycle experience. And there was never a clear quantification of what that was going to look like if you bought an Android device. It may be that a month from now, your phone may as well be a doorstop because the new feature goes out to everyone but you. And it was all a complete roll of the dice. And that was one of the reasons I couldn't, my preferences aside, I couldn't recommend anybody that they go get an Android phone because nobody can promise you're going to get basic updates, whether it's functionality or security or anything else, because, it might depend on the day. And the day you bought your phone, the carrier and Samsung or Huawei or, Google or whoever is in a standoff with AT&T. And so your phone's a brick now. Congratulations. You own $1,000 doorstop. Hello and welcome to Android. You will not enjoy your stay. And I'm glad that's getting better for people in other countries.
I was going to say, that said, that has changed considerably in the last couple
I'm glad.
Years.
I'm very glad. Yeah. As phones and service sort of continue to separate themselves and be a little bit less symbiotic, I think that's only better for everybody. So, because if you're going to spend a certain amount of money on a phone, let's say a high 3-digit or a 4-digit number, you should expect a reasonable amount of life out of the thing that you bought for that amount of money. And I'm glad that is actually getting to be a much more reasonable expectation that anyone could have.
Yeah, sure. So did Apple really make a great iPad Pro feature and just didn't tell anyone? Apple has implemented implements privacy by default. This is in Macworld. I thought this an interesting topic. Apple's obsession with secrecy has struck again, but this time in an unusual way. Yes, the company that is only able to sell devices by ticking people with the icky marketing that no other companies no other company does. Very icky. Actually forgot to market a feature. What is the feature? Well, this was according to developer, I'll probably hack this name there, Guthrie Rambo. The M4 iPad Pro is the first device.
He goes by Guillaume Rambo. So yeah.
Guillaume. Okay, so you know him.
I do.
Thank you. The first device to support and use Apple's new Secure Indicator Light (SIL) mechanism. When using the microphone or camera, the corresponding indicator dot is effectively rendered in hardware using the display. making it a lot less likely that any malware or user space app would be able to access those sensors without the user's knowledge. So Apple implements this without fanfare. So or any kind of fare at all. In fact, it was implemented without even mentioning it. This is the Macalope. I always like the things he says.
I very much appreciate.
What do you think, Kelly? This is interesting. Why Apple wouldn't even mention this? I mean, they didn't think it was important.
I think it's probably twofold. First, it doesn't. I mean, I don't know what the new phrase is for this, but the old phrase used to be, it fits in a tweet. There's no quick, snappy little way to kind of pitch this to somebody and tell them how it's awesome in 140 characters or, whatever it is now. So I think that might be part of it. It also just might be that it isn't being highlighted because it's not everywhere yet. It might be as simple as it's going to be a real big deal a few months from now when we have the iPhone 16 event where they talk about, not only is this happening, but if you have bought an iPad Pro in the last 6 months, you already have it. You're welcome. It might be as simple as that. I really like the idea that they're doing this and that the privacy piece, the privacy angle on this, I think is important and I think it's useful. But by the same token, Apple is in charge of the one app store that I have access to on my phone. And the only thing that app store has had to say to me for over a year now is, OMG, Cal, how come you don't have TikTok yet? Huh? How come?
Cal ain't got no TikTok.
Yeah.
Ooey.
Hello and welcome to In Touch with the Farm with David Ginsburg. But really, it's just I think it's as simple as this isn't simple, and also it's not everywhere. And Apple doesn't like to talk about something until they can sort of lob out that little, and we've done this for you for the last 6 months already, and you get it free, or whatever it is. And it's everywhere. Any device you buy that has a hardware thing in it, like this, that has this sort of indicator on it, will have this. And so now you've got one, you're welcome, and then everybody goes, oh yay, we're glad we got this from Apple, as opposed to we have it here and it's going to come to the other stuff eventually. Like that's not a fun stance to have if you're a PR person. So
yep. All right, go ahead, Jeff.
All right, here's my take. Start with a hypothetical. How many people do you know, just average people, the muggles, that have an iPhone, that have ever asked you, that little dot that you told me about, so now I know it means microphone or camera? Is that physical hardware or is that being rendered on screen? Mm-hmm. And I know how many people have actually asked any of us that question. And I need
this many.
Yeah, I need 0 many fingers to count it. Mm-hmm. So from that perspective, it doesn't matter. And for the market that Apple was really pushing the latest iPad announcements to, meaning the general public, not just the echo chamber, this is not a piece of information that's relevant. And I think could, in some situations, not many, but in some situations, result in people saying, wait, so you're saying that I don't actually have a real security light on my iPhone? How do I know my iPhone is safe?
Yeah.
But I think the bottom line is that for marketing purposes, this is an irrelevant piece of information, even though we look at it and go, oh, this is actually really cool and really smart.
Yeah.
Yep. How about you, Ben?
Thinking about something I can say that Jeff just didn't, but I mean, it's
sorry, I took it all for you, Ben.
But it's one of those things where Apple, I don't think, wants to have that conversation that their previous devices are somehow lesser because they put in this extra step to the new iPad.
And that's why I think until it's everywhere, if you buy a new one right now, which is an excellent reason to upgrade, that's a better angle for putting out a message as a marketing thing. So,
Yeah.
like we saw last year with the whole vibe last summer with Dub and with the new phones and with the new version of iOS and macOS, last fall. A lot of what we got was, so now how come you're still hanging on to that Intel machine? And I think this is going to be one of those things that they use to help get people to upgrade on the mobile side as well.
Yep. All right, let's go on. And I wanted to talk about WWDC 24. It is, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, it's going to be starting up here next Monday. It's on June 10th, only 3 days away as we record. The first thing that we always celebrate is the keynote, which is going to be at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So, of course, they'll be debuting all the new software. We expect iOS 18, iPadOS 18, macOS 15, tvOS 18, watchOS 11, and then Vision Pro 2. And don't think there's going to be any new products, but there's going to be a number of interesting software announcements that is thought that they might have some very much improved things, including, I think what's going to dominate the dub is going to be AI. AI is going to be, I think, pretty dominant in this, and I know Kelly's not excited about that, but it's kind of here.
I'm like the only one, I think. So yeah.
Yeah. I can't ignore it. So, but yeah, there's a number of predictions. I'm going to start with Jeff. What do you think? What is something things you're hoping to see in some of the software?
How about if we go with what I'm expecting to see? Because if we start talking about what I want to see, it just leads to disappointment and despair.
Okay.
So I would like you to tell me one thing you're wishing, Jeff, because I have a thing that I'm wishing.
Yeah, I'd like to hear that. Okay, so we'll start with what you expect. Let's go ahead and do that.
All right. So what I expect. Apple will talk a lot about AI and how they're using it to enhance our experience across all their devices. However, they're not going to present it in the way that Google and Microsoft did at their recent events, where it was all AI Palooza, and jazz hands. It's going to be this thing where they talk about the benefits and values that we're getting out of what they're giving us in the new operating system. And then they will mention that at points how they're using machine learning, and which is their favorite thing to say. But then they have recently started saying AI, so they'll incorporate that as well. And they're going to talk a lot about on device. So I think that's where the AI thing will go. I expect that we will see several of the rumored features that the Android camp is saying, well, we've had that for years, and just let the Android people have that little victory, because it doesn't matter anymore who has the feature first. It matters who gives you the feature in the way that works best for you. And and first isn't always best for that. I think the rumor that Apple is going to roll out a much more robust password management tool, I think that's actually happening. And if they do it right, this is not going to Sherlock 1Password, because 1Password's biggest user base is not individuals anymore. It's corporate. It's enterprise. So if Apple can give us something that gives most people what they really need in a password manager, which goes beyond keychain, great. Now they've saved them a subscription to 1Password and saved them the heartache of using LastPass.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Apple, while you're at it, make a HomePod app.
Oh, wouldn't that be great to give us the HomePod app? Yeah. I think we're going to see more integration between devices for automation, but I think we're also going to be disappointed with automation once again.
Yeah.
And I could go on, but I don't want to rattle off everything that Ben's going to say, so I'll stop now.
All right, go ahead, Ben.
I'll let Kelly go next.
Okay. Just gonna feed off of Kelly here.
Yeah, it's okay. Ben has a lawn chair on the patio of my house at Crackpot Theory, so I think he's just waiting to see how far afield I go. The thing The thing I think I want the most, well, here's what I expect. I expect Password Manager to turn into its own thing. And I expect that to be what people need, which is, do you want me to make a password for you that you never ever have to type? You just push the button and say, okay. Yes. Okay, let's do that. Now, if they can do that, and like, I mean, the thing I want the most is I want my Apple ID to stop texting a melon farming phone number and let me use an honest to God TOTP authentication mechanism. That's what I want. That's what I want. Please, Apple, hear me. The other things I want are things that I don't think anyone is ever going to pay attention to. I want, when you open Notes on your Mac and you press Command F, I want that to find within all of my notes, not within the note I'm looking at. I would like to change the color. What I'm hoping will happen is that Apple will explain that machine learning of things and, the Siri watch face that you've used or the Siri widget that you've used on your phone for all this time that does the thing that they showed us a long time ago when they sort of made the big introduction to machine learning, which is if you go to a coffee shop every morning, I can't remember which one they used in the demo, but it wasn't Starbucks. If you go to a coffee shop every morning and order this thing and you have the app on your phone and you use the Siri widget, then every morning the widget's going to pop up and go, hey, do you want to put in your coffee order now? And that's the kind of thing that AI should be good for, should be used for. It's great. Every morning at 9 a.m. I do this thing. And so my phone going, hey, you want me to take care of that for you? Or, assist you in some way with doing that is the right application. So I think when Apple can explain that machine learning, and really the only thing I'm interested in, because I know they're going to say AI a bunch, the thing I'm really interested in is on device. Apple doesn't want this data. Apple doesn't care about this data. Your own data is only training your own phone to do things for you. That's what I want to hear. That's what I want out of this. If they're really going to continue to bang that privacy drum, even though they're still trying to get me to install TikTok, I really want for it to be just for you. So if I pick up Jeff's phone at 9 a.m. and go to put in a coffee order, it's going to go, what are you talking about? You and cows have a known incompatibility, you lunatic. What are you doing? So that would be a great use. That would be wonderful. Better controls for things in the home app would also be a wonderful thing. What I really want out of all of it overall that I cannot believe is not a thing that has happened already is I do not want unification. Everybody's worried about running Mac apps on your iPad and running watch apps on your TV or some nonsense. I don't know. But here's the thing I want. It is not unification. It is consistency. Where you go in the settings app on a mobile device to do a thing is the same between your phone and your iPad. When they took the system preferences and called it settings and tried to make it look like the mobile version, and they took every one of those options and they put them in a melon farming blender and then flung them at the screen like a Jackson Pollock painting and went, here are your options. Good frickin' luck. And the option to change the wallpaper is not under appearance. And this is going to drive me around the bend. One day you will find me mumbling to myself in the corner of a padded room, and it's going to be because I had to open system settings, which is supposed to be like the mobile version, one too many times, and it broke me. That is, I feel like that's going to happen if they don't make this better. It is less obnoxious than it was last time. I don't want it to be any obnoxious. None more obnoxious. That's what I'm looking for. If you go to this place on iOS, you should go to that same place on macOS in settings. I have this same problem on tvOS because the place that you go to restart your Apple TV is not the same place that you go in any other Apple operating system. And it drives me nuts. All I want in life.
That button.
What?
That button you have to push to get to those to close out your apps.
Yeah. But
that's the home button.
But to restart it, you have to go to system or something. It's not under general like it is for other things where you can go and find a menu option that says restart. None of them are right. I mean, the one that really bothers me the most is open up the Messages app on your phone and see where the microphone is. And it's there and you can use it. Now go on your iPad and do the same thing. Tell me how long it takes you to find the microphone. I'll wait. It'll be a terrible podcast, but I'll wait because it is going to take you forever. It is not in the same place. Why is that way? This is a company that prides themselves on design. And the whole point is you get one, right? And then you get in the door, and now we're going to sell you all the other stuff and you can use it all because it's all the same. And they are sitting on a throne of lies.
All right.
I'm going to sit over here.
Ben, you got all that information. So
go.
Still trying to process. Well, first, I think Apple is going to lean into the industry generic terms now, and Core ML is going to basically be reformed into AI Kit.
That tracks.
Yeah. I think we're going to see a visual update to all the operating systems to kind of be more consistent with what we're seeing in Vision OS.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of update features because, well, we got them all last year. What more is Apple supposed to do here?
I just told you.
But you know what I mean.
I do.
Yes, I do think, as per the rumors, they're going to start making the settings consistent across devices because, well, that was the reason they went from the control panel to the settings.
Settings. Yeah. Which is a swear word now. You step on a Lego in the night. Settings. Yeah.
Yeah. As for what I want to see, we're not going to get it, but a man can hope. With all the push towards ARM on Windows, the last couple months, is it too much to ask for Boot Camp 2.0?
You're asking for a lot.
I don't want to buy a Dell.
That's a big ask, but I get it.
You could do a VM. VMware Fusion is free now.
Yeah,
I know,
but it's not the same. I get where you're coming from, Ben.
Yeah, I just wanted more OS level, a lot easier to use. Just push a button and I'm in Windows.
Mm.
I'm all in on getting consistency between system settings. It's always been so archaic on iOS, and then they did it on a Mac OS. Why can't they just keep it unified? They wanted all of our OSs should be unified the way you go to settings.
Well, I fear we're going to get what we're asking for, and then we'll say, no, not like that.
Yeah.
So I think we will have consistency, but it's going to be a hot garbage consistency.
But I mean, the thing is about us, we are all old school Mac users. The people,
nice
the majority, yes, the majority of the people buying Macs these days are coming in from their iPads and their iPhones,
where they're already used to a random list of preference options.
Right.
Yes, that's how they want it to work, and they are, quite frankly, Apple's user base right now.
Which is where I thought we were headed, and that is absolutely not the case. And that's why I find the settings app so frustrating. When they threw it in a blender, I thought, well, at least it'll be the same as what it is on my iPad, right? No.
Yeah. So, again, a lot of this is rumors, but I think there's some pretty solid rumors here that are going to happen. A lot of it's from Bloomberg and Mark Gurman, which we always trust. He's usually is correct in most cases. So I mean, it's some good things that we can expect. A lot of AI throughout all applications. I mean, I think the other thing you guys didn't start to touch on is Siri. I mean, is Siri going to be? There's the rumor that's saying that they're going to integrate a lot of the LLMs, the large language models, and is it going to work?
No.
There you go.
They fed it the internet. What kind of information do you think you're going to get?
Yeah.
Like all the internet, not like we gave it encyclopediabritannica.com and merriam-webster.com and oxfordenglishDictionary.com and here you go. No. We scraped Facebook and Reddit and all the rest of the seedy underbelly of the internet where people make things up and post things that are patently untrue because it was funny or because it was rude or because people are people. I'll leave it there. And none of that information is necessarily going to be correct and things aren't necessarily even vetted. And that's the part that really bugs me.
Yeah.
So I don't think she's going to get any better for that reason alone. If that's what it is, we fed your voice assistant the internet and she is better now is not, those two data points do not reconcile. The end.
I mean, honestly, what is the worst that could happen here? I mean, I don't know. I absolutely don't know.
Oh, yeah. Apple dropped the ball on the Yes Lady a long time ago. And they get a little bit of understanding from me because I get that they are so focused on maintaining our privacy with this type of tool. And it's very difficult to advance in this space with current technology and maintain user privacy. So yeah, that's a problem.
That's interesting, Jeff, because I kind of disagree with you.
Well, cool.
Well, okay. I disagree with you about why the S Lady is behind. And the reason I think it's behind is because initially when we got the S Lady on the iPhone 4, the point was to talk to your phone and then see what the results were on the screen and have it show you what they were. And you could look. So you could say what Domino's pizza locations are near me. And then you can look at them and be like, oh, I know I'm headed this direction, so I can stop at this one and pick it up. And you get the list of 5 or whatever, and you hit the one that you want. And the point of it was to be a screen interaction. And when Google made theirs and when Amazon made theirs, they started from the get-go with there is no screen attached to this transaction. So we have to make it something that people can do without seeing anything. It never, much, much later in the process did those two start selling you devices that you talk to that had a screen attached so you could look at a list of things and do the things that way. But they went in building something where there was no display for you to see. And that's not how Apple built their assistant. And I think that's part of the reason that it ended up behind was because the point was show you a list. Here's some results. Here's the 5 things you asked for. Here's 3 different places you can get that information. Here's 6 locations of whatever the thing is you asked her for. And that, as a result, that's why it feels like that one is inferior, is because it was meant to be a thing where you could scroll through the list and go, oh, you went and found all 10 of them for me. And this one is the one I'm actually looking for. Thanks. And that's not how the other ones operated. So when it became something where there was no screen, HomePod, then it really felt inadequate. It felt like maybe the assistant isn't doing what it should be. And it feels lacking in some ways because it's hard for it to do the things that we all used to do when we had the display in front of us. You can't do that from a speaker. So I think the problem is they came at it kind of sideways. And the only other thing I'll say about it is that Apple is not first in the market in a lot of things. I mean, remember every time they put out something new, all of the naysayers were like, this is a solved problem. Why would you get into the smartphone market when you could have a BlackBerry? Why would you get into the MP3 player market when you could have a creative Nomad Rio? Yeah. Why would you get into the giant screen market of a thing that isn't even a phone, et cetera, et cetera. Like this happens all the time. So I'm not surprised that people are going to kind of naysay that. But I think the fundamental problem with the Apple Assistant is that it used to have a screen and now it doesn't. And nobody thought about iterating on that and just presumed you were always going to have a screen to make that happen. And even when you have many Apple screens, you don't always have one in front of you, which is why you asked the speaker in the first place.
All right, that's totally legit. And I do agree with you. And I think Apple has a compound problem here. And,
they absolutely do.
Yeah. So, yeah, you're right. The core is everything you just said. Compounding that is their drive to keep everything secure and private. And I will add to that pile by saying Apple has a long track record of buying products from other people or other companies and then incorporating those into their systems. And since they didn't start from the beginning as something that Apple was creating in-house, they have certain limitations that they have to engineer around until they get to the point, like with Final Cut, where they have to go, screw it, and throw the whole thing out and start over.
Burn this mother down. Yep.
Yeah. All right. So a lot of good predictions, a lot of good information, and we're gonna have some exciting times. I'll be covering it on Monday when we're watching it live. As I always do, reaction time episode on For Mac Guys Only. We'll be having fun doing that. And we'll also be talking on Mac Voices Live. And then, yeah, we'll hit upon what happens at Worldwide Developers Conference, WWDC, on next Thursday, as a week from today. So it's going to be a fun event, as it always is. We really enjoy covering it and talking about it. But before we move to the news, I want to make sure let everybody know while we're recording live, we have our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/intouchwithiOS. And Brian F. is out there, Webb, Bixby, thank you for being here, and Cletus, and a number of others. So thanks for following along. Got some great interactions there in our chat. You always can come join us live Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. So come check us out. And let's go to this news for this week. I got a number of great stories here. This was an interesting article, and I wanted to talk about it. AirTag was crucial to recover $5 million in stolen tools in Metro DC. After getting fed up with overnight thefts of tools, a Northern Virginia carpenter planted AirTags on tools and leading the police of a series of a storage facility full of stolen goods. Twice, an unnamed carpenter woke in the early morning to find his van broken into and thousands of dollars of tools had been stolen out of the vehicle. He decided if there's going to be a third time, it's going to be we're going to hunt down those thieves. He bought a series of AirTags, planted them in some of the larger tools that had yet to be stolen, and the thieves returned. And all in all, between the three break-ins, 50 tools were stolen and from the man, and including some tools seeded with AirTags. Upon discovering the theft, the man drove to the DC metro area suburbs, following the thieves on his iPhone. That's kind of scary. And then he tracked the stolen goods to a storage facility nearby. And there's a video showing, and there's a picture on this page on this Apple Insider. It's just insane how many tools are piled up in there. These people stole and here we go. And we got another success story with AirPods. They got the thieves and caught them, and they were prosecuted in another successful AirTag assistance with theft. What do you think on this, Jeff? This was a interesting story.
Harm is a bitch, isn't it?
Yeah.
Exactly. Doing what this carpenter did, good on them, because I mean, your stuff's expensive and there's a lot of really bad people out in the world. Yeah. The bonus out of this, beyond their tools were discovered or tracked down, all these other tools, this was a 3-state crime ring. And
crazy.
And finding all of this stuff. I mean, this investigation, even though they've got everything, at least in the one warehouse that they found, this is going to take a long time because you have to process all that evidence. But yeah, this is really cool. And for me, it's also a great reminder that I need to go pick up another AirTag because I don't have one yet in my APAP travel bag.
Oh, yeah. I never thought of that. Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome.
I didn't either.
That's a thing, because I have travel coming up even. So yeah, I absolutely should drop one in there.
Yes, you should.
I wonder where.
Yeah.
Yep. What do you think, Kelly?
I think this is another good story that shows, how this works, how you can use an AirTag's powers for good, I guess, for lack of a better explanation. Because there was also another story this week about a guy who had been using them to stalk his wife and had like a whole bunch of them that he was using to try and monitor her, and ended up and all of the information from those ended up being what did him in. So he's
once again
he's been
karma's bitch.
And so I'm, the other thing that I'm very glad about is that you can now share them. So you can share them with other people in your household. So, for example, I have one on my keyring, and Mr. Kelly has one on his keyring, and his keyring has one set keys to a car on it. My keyring has keys to a different car on it. If one of us is driving the opposite car, eventually the keys start squeaking at you because it's not your AirTag and it's been with you for a while and you should know. And now they've fixed that so that if I have it with me and it's been here for a while, it's great and it's fine. So I'm glad that they've done that. And it's just another it's one of those iterations that really needed to happen, and I'm very happy for it. And I think this is one of those sort of unsung heroes of Apple hardware, for as grumpy as I am about some of the rest of it. This one is one that's really great and seems to do really well for a lot of people, and I'm glad for that.
All right, Ben, you got the final word on this one.
I have an AirTag that is hidden in my car. It's good not only for stuff like this, which, by the way, I would love to see in an AirTag detective TV show, Apple TV Plus. But I mean, they're a safety measure when used right. Can be an anti-safety measure, but
correct.
That's being worked on. But also, if there's an AirTag that the AirTag form factor just doesn't fit what you need, there are Find My compatible devices out there,
right?
And cases you can get a wallet that has a built-in place for it. You can get a little credit card size majigger that does the thing. Yeah, they're great. You and I have talked about your wallet recently, as a matter of fact. So yeah, there are wallets that have it built in. There's if you need to put it in a credit card size thing to put it in a thing, you can do that. Yep. So yeah, it's the ecosystem around how to stick an AirTag on a suitcase, a pet, a pair of shoes. Great.
Yeah, some of those bags and suitcases come with their built-in Find My devices.
Yeah,
but I mean, trackers, well, they protect your stuff, or if they get stolen, they make them real easy to recover. In fact, thieves, if you're watching, this might be you. So just keep your hands off of other people's stuff.
Yeah. All right, couple Netflix stories. First story is Netflix is going to end support for the second and third gen Apple TV. They will no longer support those two models by July 31st, 2024. And they have emailed subscribers to that effect. I mean, let's face it, the Apple TV was the second gen was sold from 2010 to 2012, and the third gen was a few years later after that. So they're pretty long in the tooth here.
I think from the third gen was 1080p. So
yeah, 1080p.
If you're using that, if you're still using that now, it's probably just so you have an easy way to AirPlay to the new TV that you have.
Yeah, so just update your device. I don't think of much else we could talk about on that beyond that. But also, Netflix is going to be redesigning their app for the Apple TV, which aims to simplify your homepage. Because I always found Netflix's homepage to be kind of archaic, honestly. And Netflix is testing a big homepage design on its TV app, and the new look replaces the static tiles that contains the shows and movies you want to watch with boxes that extend as soon as your remote lands on them. It's a change in how Netflix's existing homepage works, which has currently surfaced titles, trailer, and other information at the very top of its interface when you scroll over it. New design will also have other band consolidating things, making all the information that you're looking for much more prominent on your screen. I think it was overdue for this redesign. And for those who use the Netflix and watch a lot of content, I think it's a welcome design because we're all Apple TV users here, right, Ben?
Yeah, and personally, the current app design I've hated since they introduced it. So this is a very welcome change for me.
And Jeff?
Sorry, I'm way too jaded and cynical because Netflix has burned me with their interface far too often. I'll be okay with it as long as it starts showing me stuff that I'm currently watching again. It stopped doing that. It's like if I'm halfway through a show and stop, go do something else the next day, come back, I have to go find the stupid show again. And yeah, so just give me that, and you can do whatever else you want with the interface, and I'll be able to tolerate it.
That's a thing that has sort of inched its way below the fold in a lot of services, I've noticed. We want to show you the stuff we think you want before you can get to the stuff that you're actually watching. I have found this irksome outside of Netflix. I have found this just recently in a couple of other apps, and I was just complaining about it to somebody the other day. So I don't spend a lot of time in the Netflix app these days because they haven't put out a new season of Stranger Things yet. So I kind of don't care until that happens. Yeah. But until then, I have noticed that in other streaming apps as well, the show I'm in the middle of is not the first thing that it shows me. Only in Plex can I see, this is the thing that you were just watching upon opening the app. And I can't do that on any others. And it doesn't matter what platform. If I'm using it on a TV, if I'm looking at an app on a TV, if I'm looking at an app on my iPad or on my phone, it doesn't, the thing that I'm in the middle of watching is not the focus of the experience. And I have found that very frustrating lately. Maybe one day one of them will win and will get the people's ovation and glory forever, I think is how they put that on Iron Chef, by giving me a rewatch button. Do you want to rewatch this season or do you want to rewatch the whole show? And then it clears the progress on all of that stuff so that when you hit play the next episode, it doesn't give you 5 minutes of one from, 2 seasons away. It gives you the actual next episode instead. Someone will figure that out. Maybe they'll use AI to do it. And when they do, that will be my favorite streaming app. Gauntlet Throne.
All right. We'll go with that. Next story here. Apple says that the iPad Air M2 has 9 GPU cores, but not 10 as originally was stated. Apple seemingly updates its tech specs webpage for the latest M2 iPad Air models to indicate that the M2 chip is a 9-core GPU instead of a 10-core as it previously was stated. The change was first reported by 9to5Mac, and this is on Mac Rumors on available web snapshots. The update to the Apple's US websites had made the change in the last 10 days, so they kind of caught it there, these sleuthers. And Apple has not commented on the change, which, if accurate, makes the new iPad Air the first M2-based Apple device with 9-core GPU since the change went live on Apple's site. The going theory is the Apple's processor yield of 10-core chips was not sufficient. We're using what's called a binned version. Mm-hmm. So always interesting when we catch these things when they and then they go back and find it later. right, Kelly?
Yeah, I find it interesting primarily because it doesn't usually go that way, right? Like we said they were 9-core, but really they're 10. You're welcome. That's the kind of thing people want to see. I'm glad it's accurate though, instead of just leaving it up there as an incorrect thing. So it was probably a manufacturing thing, like maybe the first wave 10 cores was reliable, and now consistently 9 is really where it's at, and having to go, well, sometimes it's 9 but sometimes it's 10. If you ordered on a Tuesday, maybe you'll get something different. Just give it a new baseline and call it a day. That seems like the thing that makes the most sense to me.
Yep. Apple says the iPhone 5S is now obsolete, and the iPod Touch 6 becomes vintage. They made these changes last Friday as we record, involving both of those older models and also an older iMac model. It makes sense. 5S was released in 2013, so it's definitely an obsolete product. You can't install anything, I think, higher than probably iOS 14 or even lower than that, probably. And and that's when that came out. That was when the Touch ID was built into the home button. The iPod Touch, sadly, that has disappeared. That was the 2015 version, and the 21.5-inch iMac, the Retina 4K display, now vintage. So that 6th gen iPod Touch was released in 2015. And the last model when Apple discontinued the iPod Touch line was in 2022. So, well, makes sense. That product wasn't really selling very well anymore because everybody has an iPhone. So there's kind of no point to having an iPod Touch, as sadly as we all love our iPods that we've had in the past. So that's one thing. And another streaming service is raising their rates. That seems to be kind of a trend lately.
No.
What a surprise. Max, or of course also known as HBO Max, is going to increase their no ads service from $15.99 to $16.99 a month. With the 4K ad-free plan will go from $19.99 to $20.99 a month. Boy, that's expensive. And the prices were going to go into effect for new subscribers today. This was this week as we record. So no surprise here that a lot more increases are happening. The cord cutting market and streaming market is very volatile right now. We'll probably be seeing more changes, and we'll cover it and talk about it. So I don't think there's much else to talk. There, Kelly has her old iPod Classic. I've got one of those too.
Never had one of those. I always coveted that model.
Yep. So let's go on to another story. Lowe's, also working going to those home improvement stores, is launched a in-store Apple Vision Pro experience. Now, this could be a trend here with stores. Some of Lowe's retail locations are now offering an in-store Apple Vision Pro experience that's designed to allow customers to personalize and visualize their dream kitchen with the help of Lowe's associates. Available in select stores. It's in North Carolina, California, and New Jersey to start with. And we'll provide customers with Apple Vision Pro to use Lowe's Style Studio app that launches alongside the Vision Pro in February. And it'll be 3D kitchens environments that can be customized with hundreds of real-world materials. It seems to think this could be a trend. I'm thinking a lot of stores that require that kind of interaction. Kelly, you seem perplexed about this. What do you think?
I think it sounds like a giant hassle. I mean, if you've been to an Apple store for a demo, you know the amount of gyration that goes into sitting down and having somebody strap the thing on your face, even when they know that you're coming. Yep. And so being able to walk in and sit down and whip up a kitchen sounds awesome, but I feel like in reality, it's going to be weird. Like if I don't wear glasses, but sometimes Mr. Kelly wears glasses. So like if both of us want to see the thing, like, are they going to have to pop the lenses out and do the whole reset? And, if he's like, hey, come on over and take a look at, logistically, it just seems like a hassle, a whole lot of hassle. It seems like a thing that they should add to their app so that you can go yourself. If you have one, you can go, bust out the Lowe's app and spin up a kitchen in your kitchen. That sounds like the much better way to go about this. So to me, this is just sort of confusing.
Yep. How about you, Jeff?
Good. Someone's going to be buying Vision Pro.
That about sums it up really good. And Ben, you could tell us the last word on that.
Honestly, this seems like a good use case for the Vision Pro.
I think so. I definitely think so. Last story before we get close to wrapping up here. Apple promises a fix long ignored in the parental control. It was a parental control bug after media spotlight. Apple has finally addressed a Safari restriction workaround that has been around for years after a bug was highlighted by the Wall Street Journal's Joanna Stern. Kids who are restricted from viewing certain websites with the screen time feature are able to paste a string of characters in the address bar in Safari in order to get around parental controls. What a concept. In a report on screen times, Joanna Stern did say that she was able to put those string of characters into her son's iPad by passing the restrictions and preventing access to the websites with pornography, violent images, and more. She was able to get around the screen time on devices on iOS and iPadOS and even on macOS. So the Apple gave a statement saying that they're aware of this issue with an underlying web technology protocol for developers. So it looks like it is going to get fixed, but when it gets fixed is another story. Are we surprised this happened?
No.
For as long as it did, yes.
Yeah, leaving it go this long was another reason. It just took the media to finally bring it to their attention here.
It was a low priority thing that Apple didn't feel was worth addressing. And the only reason Apple is addressing it now is because Joanna Stern got all hot and bothered about it.
There's that. Well, she is quite the influencer, I must say, from what she does. How about you, Ben?
Yeah, this is something that should have been fixed way earlier.
Yeah. Anything else to add, Kelly?
That's pretty much it. I mean, yeah, I don't... that it went on as long as it did is the part that surprises me the most, because it would have been... I feel like I haven't dug super deep into it, but for something like that, I feel like there could have just been a tiny little Safari update that just went, if anyone ever pastes this in the address bar, just all you do is load a page that says, haha, no, and leave it at that, you know?
Yep.
That would have been a tiny little fix.
All right.
No prawn for you, kiddies.
For sure. All right. Before we wrap up this week, I have to talk about MacStock. We are 35 days away from MacStock as we record this. Oh my gosh. It's coming very soon here. MacStock Conference and Expo. It's MacStock 8. We're going to have a lot of fun here. All of us are going to be here, and we know Ben's going to be there. We're just going to say he is. And we're going to have all kinds of fun, seeing everybody, seeing our friends, networking with new friends, and having a blast and seeing some amazing presentations. We got 3 full days. The first day is new. We're going to have workshops. Our friend Marty Gensius, Allison Sheridan, Mike Schmitz, and a number of others will be doing workshops for 90 minutes talking about a specific topic. We've got myself and Jeff Gamet and Chuck Joyner. Brett Terpstra is going to be back. Kirsten Shea is going to be there. Brian Flanagan Arthurs is going to speak for the first time. A lot of great topics. Michael DJ Eisenberg. Jill McKinley, a number of the people we've had on the show here is going to be here talking about some great topics. And it looks like Dave Hamilton finally has his profile up. He's going to be mastering real-time podcast production across genres. Oh, this is going to be a good one. And look, Chuck is the slacker. Still hasn't put his session up on there, so we gotta razz him about that.
Wait, Kelly, you have a session too? Why did I not know this?
Because it happened very recently.
Oh.
And also because I do have one. I just can't tell you what it is yet.
Okay. All right. Then that's breaking news here. Kelly Guimont's going to speak as well. That's even more exciting. So come join us. It's going to be so much fun. They moved the venue. It's going to be an absolute awesome venue. It's in Crystal Lake, Illinois, just outside Chicago, not too far from previous venues. And they still got hotel room rates that are great available, and you can join us, and it's going to be great. You have a choice. You can go through the weekend pass, or you can go with the weekend pass for Saturday and Sunday, or if you want the full weekend pass plus the workshops, you can do that as well. But the great thing is, for being a listener and viewer of In Touch with iOS, you can get $30 off by using our offer code, which is In Touch with iOS. Use that all one word at checkout, and you're going to be able to get $30 off your price. So it's going to be exciting, and come see us. It's July 12th, 13th, and 14th. That's a nice. It's a little bit earlier this year in July. Come see us. We're going to have an absolute blast. And Kelly, you're also going to be speaking just before MacStock, right? You're going to be at the Mac Admins Conference. What are you talking about at your conference?
At Mac Admins, I'm talking about what the preferred term now is habanero for people who are not neurotypical. If you are neurospicy and work with other people who maybe are not neurospicy, we're going to talk about what we would like the regulars to know about working with us. So that's going to be it. Brain stuff. It's going to be great.
How about instead of regulars, commoditized deviants?
Okay, I'm writing that down right now because that's totally going in my talk.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
just
funny.
Feel free to use
glorious. Glory.
We'll have a link in the show notes to check out the Mac Admins Conference as well. So thank you for that, and thank all of you for being here this week. We had just an amazing show, but we're going to go ahead and wrap up for this week. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Mastodon, which is at intouchwithios at techhangout.social. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We'd really appreciate it. Shout out to all the great Patreon supporters for our show. We really appreciate you. And you could join us as well. Make sure you share and like and subscribe when you are notified and you'll be notified when we're live streaming, which is on Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific, in our YouTube channel at youtube.com/intouchwithios. Shout out to Webb and to Cletus and Brian. Thanks for being in the chat tonight as we were live streaming. You can watch the current and the past live streams, as well as listen to past shows right on YouTube there. You can visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we discuss are flipped into that magazine. The link is in our show notes. You can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Pocket Casts, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, many others. But better yet, just go to our website, intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are on that website. And I am Dave Ginsburg. You can find me on Mastodon at DaveG65 at mastodon.cloud. And Kelly Guimont, thank you, as always, for being here. We really love having you here. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Mastodon, where I am Verso at mastodon.social. You can usually find me at a park somewhere playing Pokemon Go. You can occasionally find me over on the Incomparable Network, where I talk about a wide variety of things, occasionally play ridiculous game shows, live on a podcast, and sometimes talk about nerdy stuff like comic books and Deadpool and Wolverine and Deadpool and Wolverine and Star Wars. So you can find me over there talking about all kinds of stuff. You can find me on The After Show, which is the show that I do with Mike Rowe. You can find us over on Mastodon as well. You can find us at aftershowpodcast.com. After Show Podcast brought to you by weatheralibi.com. For all your weather alibi needs, weatheralibi.com. And the rest of the time, you can find me here trying to make trouble with you, or you can find me trying to keep Chuck Joyner from staying on topic on Mac Voices Live on Tuesday night.
All right. And Ben Roethig, thank you for being here. Where can people find you?
Well, Dave, you can find me at Ben Roethig on the social media. On Tuesdays, you can find me on Mac Voices Live with Chuck Joyner. And every Thursday, you can find me here on In Touch with iOS with Mr. Dave Ginsburg.
Thanks, Ben. We appreciate you being here. Last but certainly not least, Jeff Gamet, thank you for being here. And where can people find you?
You know, it's always a treat, so thank you. Where can people find me? Social media, Jay Gamet on pretty much everything. I'm active on Mastodon and Instagram and occasionally Threads. Then for shows, Chuck Joyner's Mac Voices Live on Tuesdays, here with you on Thursdays, In Touch with iOS. Then on the British Tech Network, Thursdays on The Big Show, Fridays on The Mac Show. Also, Brian Chaffin and I do The Context Machine, and Patrice Brendamore and I just started a new podcast, Retro Rewatch. And
so exciting.
Okay, Kelly, since this is clearly your first time hearing about this.
Yes.
The premise is Brian and I were talking on Context Machine, and
what?
Different shows came up. I know. Different shows came up.
You talk?
One of the shows, I'm like, I've never seen that. And Brian gives me the kind of look that you just gave me. Patrice hears the episode and she's like, how can you not have seen this show? So clearly the only solution to this problem was to create a podcast where I now have to watch all these shows that I've never seen before, but she has. And then
but what was the show?
Them. Well, you find out when the first episode drops tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
There's an episode 0 out explaining all of this, but
this is what happened.
Episode 1 drops tomorrow.
Okay.
And you will be shocked, I say, when you find out what show we're starting with that I haven't seen.
Okay.
All right. let's go ahead and wrap up here. Thanks all for being here. We really enjoyed doing this show, and we're going to have some great after WWDC coverage next week. But until then, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and we'll talk again soon.